In Chicago, an Indigenous chef has been selected as the winner of a James Beard Award. Chef Sherry Pocknett is the owner of Sly Fox Dentu in Rhode Island. She was named the best chef of the Northeast. Pocknett was a semifinalist among 20 other chefs and one of 4 finalists. She didn't expect to win and says she didn't even write a speech. Growing up, Pocknett learned how to harvest wild berries and prides herself on using these teachings in her daily life. She said the real honor is to share her culture through food.
This is what I love. I love educating people about and feeding people the goodness of what's, in your section, in your town, in your state, in the water.
Pocknett, who is battling cancer, accepted the honor right after finishing a round of chemotherapy. We send our congratulations to her. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. Nikki Ducheneau was a lawyer for her nation, the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe, and was a highly respected partner at Big Fire Law and Policy Group. On July 14th, she died unexpectedly. Since then, condolences have poured in for the attorney, with many remembering her as a devoted parent and tireless advocate for Native tribes and communities. Heather Dawn Thompson, the director of the Office of Tribal Relations for the USDA, told ICT that Ducheneau will be greatly missed, calling her passing a, quote, generational loss. Today, we are re-airing an interview with Nikki Ducheneau from April with ICT's Shirley Snavy.
Hi, I'm Shirley Snavy, and we're at the RES conference, and I have the honor of interviewing Nicole Ducheneau. She's an enrolled member of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe in South Dakota, and she works for Big Fire Law and Policy Center. And she hosted a panel yesterday on voting rights. I wanted to talk to you about that, so welcome.
Thank you, Shirley.
Tell us about the panel and what your goals were for having a panel on voting rights.
So voting rights is a really hot and important issue in Indian country right now, simply because there are deliberate attacks on the right of Native people to participate in state, municipal, and national elections. We do have some reluctance in Indian country to get involved in politics, but it is so critically important to our own sovereignty. Who we elect in a state and national and even a local election has a huge impact on tribes. And, we see it on a broad level. Unfortunately, we elected Donald Trump. And the composition of the U.S. Supreme Court changed, and an already anti-Indian court has become incredibly hostile to Indians. And that is a direct result of that national vote. And so what we see out in the localities is that these, local voting officials and local governments are using insidious tactics to make it harder for Native people to vote. And that's a signal that they're scared of our power.
I'm often surprised to hear how many Natives don't vote. And they don't vote because they don't think it has anything to do with them, that their vote isn't going to make a difference. And I think even in Nebraska, with the 4 tribes there, there could be some issues where our voices in Nebraska, I'm Ponca tribe in Nebraska, that it could make a difference. And just to be able to see the world from a different lens, so to speak, of the Native vote.
Yeah, it is disappointing to see that, and we really need a grassroots effort on the ground. I am really lucky to have a relative in my life, my now deceased great aunt Lucille Otter, who was a member of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes, and she was famous for getting out the vote on the Flathead Reservation, and still to this day people will remember her. Oh, Lucille was your aunt. Oh God, she used to come to my house and just badger me about voting, and I used to hate it, but now when I go to vote, I always think of her. So we need Aunt Lucille's out there in Indian country, because people of that generation understood what it was like to not have any power, and how lucky we are today to have the right to vote and to have power in our tribal governments. So I really am happy when I see our grassroots efforts getting out the Native vote, because it is so incredibly important.
This conference is bringing together a wide variety of people, mostly that are interested in economic development from a tribal or an independent point of view. And this is a year that we're taking a look at the Farm Bill. Should Natives care about the Farm Bill?
Absolutely. The Farm Bill is so critically important. Agriculture is absolutely the most natural industry for tribes. Although many of us are poor, a lot of our tribes are rich in land. And agricultural industry is part of our cultural history as well. Animal husbandry and cultivating the land, and the opportunities that the U.S. Department of Agriculture offers for funding and grants and programs are so critical to Indian country, and there's a lot of untapped resources. And that my firm Big Fire has started an agriculture practice group that I think is unique in Indian country, where we are working to help tribes like update their tribal codes for grazing and for various things that help make agriculture work in a tribal community. And then also to advocate for tribes to take advantage of grant funding coming out of the Keeps Eagle settlement and programs in the Farm Bill, programs in the USDA. And now is absolutely the time, because the U.S. Department of Agriculture has more advocates for Indian country than we've ever had before. The General Counsel is Janie Hip, an Indian from Oklahoma. The administrator of the Farm Service Administration is my cousin Zach Ducheneau. We've got Heather Don Thompson running the tribal program in there, and they've all put together excellent teams, and they understand our needs.
And the Dakota Access Pipeline, your firm has been involved in that in the past, and
Yes, that's right. So I was just absolutely honored to represent my own tribe, the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, in the Dakota Access Pipeline litigation, which unbelievably started 7 years ago in 2016. And although we do have a pipeline under our sacred Minnesota, Missouri River, the tribal plaintiffs in that case won almost every step of the way on the law. And what we were always seeking was a full environmental impact statement. And in 2019 and 2020, that's exactly what the district court ruled. And so we've been in that environmental impact statement process ever since. And tribes have been participating and challenging the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on their cozy relationship with the oil company. And so what tribes are doing now is making the record, because we will sue again. We're Sioux Indians, that's what we do. But that was such a highly visible case in Indian country, because we had such an amazing turnout from the world and from Indian activists, and it's been off the radar. But we are still fighting for our sacred river and our sacred mini, our sacred water, and we're still getting pushback from the federal government. So they better watch out, because we'll come for them again.